You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. We are live and local here in San Diego, bringing you the most important hour in radio and telling you everything they don't want you to know. When we say they, we mean the bureaus, the banks, the government, and of course the media, who's constantly trying to get into your brain and pass you false messages along. Padres got the win over the Toronto Blue Jays last night, 8-2 at Petco Park, and maintain the lead in the National League West by half a game over LA. Tonight we're hosting Toronto at 3:35. You can catch the action right here on San Diego 1700, so save the station in your dial. Today we're going to be talking about different debt relief strategies, bankruptcy, debt settlement, credit counseling, etc. The city of San Diego, by the way, is considering bankruptcy, and fortunately we have some experts in the studio today, which we'll introduce here in just a second. We're also going to be translating the news, as usual, but first we have to bring in our guests, Lisa Bowman and William McDonald with the McDonald Legal Group. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks for having us on.
All right, so first things first. We had something really interesting I wanted to bring up that I just saw pop in the news today, which is that the city of San Diego is considering using bankruptcy to roll back some benefits and things like that. I'll read the quick part of the story, then I'll get your guys' take on it. The city of San Diego should consider Chapter 9 municipal bankruptcy to help reduce fringe benefits, pension, health obligations, etc. One of the suggestions made by the San Diego County Grand Jury. I didn't even know there was a San Diego County Grand Jury that makes these decisions, but I thought that was interesting that they said that. They do the normal duties of recommending indictments as well as reporting on local governments and special districts. Now, the reason I thought this was important to bring up is because this brings to the forefront the reality behind what bankruptcy means. There's the stigma of misinterpretation amongst the public and consumers out there that bankruptcy is your last straw, it's your last sword in the sand. It's really a strategic financial move, and when the city of San Diego is considering something like this, it really brings that to the forefront. Have you guys seen this yet? Is this something that you've seen in the news, or have you been seeing this coming?
Well, as far as the Chapter 9, a city filing for bankruptcy, that's obviously extremely rare, and I think the big case that comes to my mind is the Orange County filed under Chapter 9. Gosh, I want to say probably 15 years ago. It's been a while, but I think that's one of the most famous cases where, and it was very successful from my reading of what transpired out of Chapter 9. I think they rebounded pretty quickly. So,
and that's the idea, right? I mean, it's the same idea with consumer bankruptcy. It's a fresh start. It's a renegotiation of debts and things like that. It's a way to take yourself from a bad spot and put yourself in a good spot. That's all they're trying to do.
Right. It's a tool.
Reorganizing the debt is what it is.
And that's why there's all these different chapters. I mean, that's Chapter 9, which you very rarely hear about, but most commonly hear about Chapter 11, and that's why the airlines and the car companies, I mean, they're all taking advantage of this tool known as bankruptcy. And for consumers, it's Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. So there's a reason why all these chapters are in the code, and it's a tool for, as you always preach, to take advantage of.
Yeah, it's something. It's the law. I mean, it's your legal right. And I noticed that Chrysler actually had its 1-year anniversary from its Chapter 11 filing, and still 49,000 employees. So for anyone who thinks that bankruptcy is something that is the end of the road, that it's your last draw, it's your last dart that you're throwing at the board, that's not the case. It's a way, it's something that's written in the law that you can take advantage of. And as a consumer, we look mostly at Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, which is the reorganization. Chapter 7 is what we call the fresh start. Right. And that's really what I like about bankruptcy is the Chapter 7, where you can get rid of everything that's in there. In fact, I just had someone contact me yesterday. I'll leave her name out of it, but it was someone who I referred to you guys, and she contacted me to say, hey, I'm ready to start looking at my credit and seeing what we can do to make sure that there's no errors on my report, that everything looks good, that I'm going to have a good credit score as quickly as possible. And so I briefly asked her about experience, and she loved it. And it was funny to me because she said, I'm almost as excited about it now as you were when you told me about it. I said, look, now you know why. We're 3 months out from filing. You just discharged. It's over. All those debts are gone. The gorilla's off your back. All the liability associated with some of the other stuff you had out there is gone. And now you're free to go and move on.
Right.
She got the fresh start. She loved it, and she really appreciated the world-class service that you guys provided. So I wanted to pass that along to you.
Oh, thank you.
Today on the air.
Great. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, I think it is. And that's the reason that I recommend you guys to everybody, because the reality is there are a lot of attorneys out there who don't have people's best interest in mind. They just flat out don't.
It's unfortunate, but very true.
It is, and I think that there becomes a bad name at some point for some people. But the truth is, the law for Chapter 7 bankruptcy is incredible. It's hard to believe that it's legal.
Right.
It's so cool. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. And the fact that your credit scores can move higher the way that it reports to credit is just amazing. So anyway, the city of San Diego considering bankruptcy, I think the point there to make is that, look, if you're an individual, you certainly shouldn't be ashamed or feel bad about the fact of considering bankruptcy. The city's looking at doing it. There's huge companies doing it left and right that are still operating a business. It doesn't mean that you're done. It doesn't mean that that's the end for you. Okay? It means that you're actually getting a fresh start, and that's what the city's looking to do, and that's what a lot of people should be looking to do when times are tough, as they are right now. No matter what you read out there in the news, things are tough for people.
Right.
Okay? And I think they try to make people feel bad if you're not making your payments, if you're not doing the things that everyone else is doing. But the truth is, if someone out there is having trouble making the payments, if you're only making the minimum payments on your credit cards, if you've got judgments,
or none at all,
or none, if you're missing payments, if you're behind on your mortgage because you've got all these other obligations that you're dealing with, if you've got judgments against you, wage garnishments, medical bills, how many people have
payday loans?
Payday loans.
Bad one.
Can we get to payday loans
again?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can we talk about that?
We need to get to that because people get in this circlement with these payday loans. It's a downward spiral. I mentioned it briefly yesterday because there was an article about it, and I certainly don't recommend payday loans. I understand a one-time use if you have a big commission coming the next month or something along those lines, but for the most part, on a week-to-week basis, if you're using these payday loans, you're ultimately trapping yourself.
Yes.
You're putting yourself between a rock and a hard place. What's your guys' experience been? I mean, do you see, the attorney who wrote that story from New York, I think it was yesterday, said that, if you're doing payday loans on a regular basis, you're going to file for bankruptcy. Is that what you guys see? Do you see a lot of those instances?
Definitely. I have a lot of clients that are just kind of at their wits' end with the payday loans, and they're in that cycle and they can't get out of it. And in my opinion, payday loans are a legalized form of predatory lending. I mean, the interest rates that they get is serious. I mean, they're getting over 100% interest at least on these payday loans. So I really think it's borderline criminal what they do with the payday loans.
Well, and that's what I thought was interesting yesterday was how I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone who was writing the report about how Wall Street and the big banks actually make even crazier percentages of money off of the NSF fees,
right.
Over the limit stuff. And it's actually, they made $38 billion in 2009 on NSF fees.
Right.
That's amazing.
And so they're trying to actually cut out the payday lenders because they want those NSF fees.
Right.
They don't want that to cut into their business. So we look at payday loans and think about how terrible these things are. And, I mean, they really are.
This is ridiculous.
I mean, it's absurd. But the bottom line is there's something even worse. And so some people make the argument to me when I get to talking about payday loans that, well, if I use it and I can somehow make my payments on time and save my credit and things like that, but you have to look long-term. It's not a long-term solution to anything. No. What are some of the experiences you guys have had with some of these payday lenders?
Well, a lot of our clients come in, they've been wrapped up in this payday loan nightmare for a long time. For instance, we did have an elderly disabled lady that had been in the same payday loan just every time she got paid once a month out of her fixed income of $595 a month. They were taking out the money month to month to month because she could never, a lot of people that are in this situation don't have double the amount that's owed in order to get out of the loan.
Right.
Essentially, that's what it is. So they just get wrapped every couple weeks. They have to take out a new loan, and it's renewing it she was in it for over 2.5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Until she finally came to see us, and very desperate and broke and sad. And it's really unsettling that these companies are even okay with that. They obviously don't look into any prerequisites as far as who they're giving the loans to, what is their income amount, is this even viable for them, is this something that's going to benefit them or hurt them. I mean, I wish there was a limit on how many times you could take out the same, renew us the same loan, because I think that would help eventually if they just had a cutoff date and then you had to make payments to get it paid off within 6 months or something along those lines. But they don't. It just renews. And